And I think we're live. I always look this way, and it looks very, very rude, I know, to a person that I'm talking to, that I'm always looking off over here. Hi, Tracy.
Hi.
Debt Free Diva, Tracy Hemingway of the famous Hemingway clan. I'm just kidding, joining us today, have a bit of a chat, I guess, about life, the universe and everything, and debt, which seems to be the thing you are travelling the internet and media universe with, helping people with. How are you?
Hi, good. Yes, debt is definitely my paying off debt is my strong point.
Right. Hey, well, listen, why don't we just rip into it? I know that your story's out there a little bit in a few newspaper articles and television articles and stuff, but why don't you just kind of give us the synopsis of the whole... The big part of your story that seems to be out there is, you're sort of, are you 27 now, still 27 now, or have you turned the big 28 by now? All right, so 28 now. But the previous 3 years you paid down a shit ton of debt, and that's sort of what your story has been about. I'd like to talk about that, but I'd also like to know a bit more about you, because I think a lot of our attitudes and stuff towards money, either when we treat it poorly, like maybe you were before you started paying it down, or well, can often be reflected also in our upbringing and what we saw our parents and that kind of thing do as well. So why don't you give us the synopsis, starting from how the hell did you get $100,000 into debt when you were 24, and then tell us about paying it off.
All right. So when I moved out of home when I was 17, and when I was 18, I was presented the opportunity to own my own business, which I jumped on. So I'm a very enthusiastic person. I have more energy than most. So I was like, yeah, I totally got this. I can do this. So I went ahead and did that. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have very good advisors around me at the time. There was a lot of social pressures from the people, like my customers from the business, to, keep being better, doing better. So I was investing money that I didn't have into the business. So I just kept racking up debt. People ask me all the time, like, how do the banks allow it? I honestly would just go to them and say, I need another $5,000 on my credit card, and they would give it to me.
Wow.
So, and I was just, I had no concept of money management, or I'd done a year of accounting at university, and I was like, yeah, sweet, I can do this. Could not do it. So yeah, and the business also wasn't making money, so I was using a lot of the money to live.
What was the business? What did you start up?
I was coaching American style cheerleading.
Okay, that's a unique one. So somewhere, are you based in Auckland?
Hamilton.
So somewhere in Hamilton, you were kind of running a cheerleading school.
Yeah.
Big demand for that in Hamilton. People learning to do flip-flops down the side of a rugby field.
It was competitive cheerleading, so a 2.5 minute routine with throws and lifts and flip-flops and whatnot. But I actually had 4 gym locations: one in Hamilton, one in Tauranga, one in Rotorua, and one in Cambridge.
Wow.
So, yeah, I had about 500 kids across.
Wow, that sounds really successful.
Yeah, in theory it should have, but when you come down to like child safety laws and stuff, you had to have X amount of coaches per class, like per X amount of kids. So it was never going to break even, because if you stack a class with more and more kids, then you'd have to get another coach, which then comes with additional overheads.
Wow. So, was it the kind of business, like, you obviously purchased the business or started the business? Was it something that you bought off someone, or something that you just started and built literally from the ground up?
It was a franchise that was given to me.
Given
as a gift.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that model can't work. I mean, was there a way that it could have worked and you just didn't quite nail it down? Because it sounds like you're saying more kids, more adults, more cost, never break even. Is it an impossible business to actually make profitable?
I think if it wasn't a franchise, it would work.
Right. So, because for people who don't know, there'd be franchise fees in there, which means money coming out of your back pocket going to the franchisee, the personal company who owns the branding for the business around the country, if not the world.
Yeah. But then on top of that, there's things in franchise agreements that I think people don't realize, like you have to buy supplies from certain places, so you can't get them cheaper. You have to align with certain marketing and branding. So I was always restricted in the costs the associated costs.
And that's and often franchise businesses will then charge a premium on those as well. So, you know, if you're a business that runs a movie theater, you got to buy the right boxes for the popcorn from the suppliers who are also the franchise holders, rather than sourcing them for yourself off AliExpress or something at 1/10 the price. So they clip the ticket. Franchise models clip the ticket everywhere. It's a hard one to be profitable.
And some of them are super successful. Like if you look all around the place, there's franchises everywhere. I just think the business model, because of the nature of the business, I think as a franchise, it wasn't going to work.
Right. All right. Okay. So that kind of answers where did the big chunk of debt come from? That it wasn't making money, you were borrowing more money, you were using the money you were borrowing to live off as well. I'm not trying to rush through it, but it sounds like at 23, 24, you realized 100K worth of debt.
Yeah, so at 24, what actually started the spiral was I got a tumor in my throat. So then I was like, it's not healthy. So I went to a business advisor, an independent business advisor, and I was like, look, I want to try get out of this. I'm ready for a 9 to 5. I'm now unhealthy, blah, blah, blah. And that's when we wrote it all down. And he's like, did you realize this is how much debt you actually have? Which I did not.
Wow.
Yeah. So then we started going through all the options of bankruptcy, because it's astronomical, the amount of, it's just it was $94,000 on 20% interest. So it was just insane. Anyway, the insolvency officer that I went and saw, now reflecting back on this, I don't know if this is law or if she just said it to pull my heartstrings, but she was like, oh, well, you're going to have to get rid of your dog to go bankrupt because it's a luxury item and they cost money.
That sounds like a bit of a wives' tale to me. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah, but at the time, I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Right? So now I'm like, okay, well, I think that's rubbish, because I've had a few people say that they managed to keep their pets, etc., which is fine, but I could only go off the information that I was given at the time, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I decided that I was going to keep my dog and I was going to pay it all back. So they told me it would take me 16 years and it took me 3.
Wow. That's almost unbelievable. I'm a big fan, and I've just started to go down a rabbit warrant on YouTube of the panel show out of the UK called Would I Lie to You? I don't know if you know it, but comedians come out and they state a fact, and then the opposite panel has to figure out whether they're telling the truth or not. What you've just said, I mean, might be different for these people who are in the show because obviously they're wealthy celebrities, but for your average person to say I got rid of $94,000 in 3 years feels like a pretty tall tale. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't sound very believable. So tell us about it. How did that happen? How did you get through that?
Well, first of all, I sold any asset that was available. I sold everything, absolutely everything. So I moved from a 3-bedroom house into a flat as well. So a 1-bedroom into a flat. So instantly my living costs went from $300 a week rent plus power plus blah, blah, blah to $135 a week, including power, essentials, and internet. And then, of course, I just sold everything in that house, everything that couldn't go to the flat. So there was a decent chunk. When I say decent chunk, it was $4,000 or something like that. And then
it's not that decent. 5% of your debt.
No, it was a month's worth of minimum repayments or something stupid at the time. But anyway, then I went and got myself a job in sales. So this is the big thing. Most people, because I did a lot of side hustling as well. So that's the big story that everybody likes to pick up on, is all the side hustles. They forgetting that I went and got myself a job in sales. And not only that, but I was doing incredibly well. Like I was billing 200% of my target most months, and it was on unlimited commission. So I was just like churning numbers.
Because this is the thing, right? And I'm looking down because I'm doing numbers as I'm talking to you. So call it $90,000 over 3 years. So that's $30,000 a year. That's $600 a week, paying off debt. There are many people in the country who don't even earn $600 a week. So paying that off, you must, as you're saying, you must have had an amazing job or an amazing ability to earn income. For many who couldn't do that, is it a bit of a luxury that you could even attempt to pay this off because of who you are and the skill set you had, whereas others just it wouldn't even be possible?
Yes and no. I think my circumstances were very different as well. So I don't have a partner or kids or anything.
Yeah, they're fucking expensive. Those kids are they'll empty your bank pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's one way to get into debt, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I do understand that everybody's situations are different, and I now work with clients who, it's funny because they call themselves like the average Joe, but I'm average too. Like I'm just a person, but I went and got myself into circumstances that allowed me to pay off the debt, and I worked hard. Like it wasn't easy, and even getting a job in sales like with unlimited commission was very hard.
Who were you working for? Who were you selling for?
I can't say.
Oh, really? No. Okay, what industry then? What industry was it in?
Corporate.
What does that mean? I mean, like telecommunications, like retail, like what was it like the industry it was in? Can you at least say that?
Corporate can I don't know how far.
Why? Out of interest, no, I don't want you to tell if you can't tell, but why can't you say who it was? Is it because you're
because their HR department has been on my case before, so I have to be careful.
So
because I'm talking about my income,
right?
I don't want, it's contract conflict.
So you don't want to reveal that Company X had these.
I would love to.
Well, I guess it wouldn't be proper to say Company X had this scheme for their sales reps. That's private and confidential to their business. I get it. All right. Anyway, so we'll move on. But obviously, it was a fairly well paid job. It would have to be able to do this. And as you say, working hard and hitting targets set before you above and beyond gave you a double hit back on a well paid job.
Yeah. So I was actually doubling my income.
Wow.
So my base salary was your average. I started on less than 50K a year.
Yeah.
Base salary. So people think that I just walked into this 6-figure income. I didn't at all. I had a very, very small base salary, and then I just worked very hard.
So 100K a year, but there you go. There's a good. That's $2,000 a week before tax. It's a way to start paying down some debt, or alternatively doing some savings. So excellent, good on you.
Yeah. And then, of course, came the side hustles. So I was I still am, working multiple jobs as well, like contracting jobs. So I literally, you name it, I've probably done it. I was a face painter. I was contracted to do that. I was a dog walker. I've done Uber Eats, lime juicing, house sitting. The list is endless. Just anything I would keep searching, Seek, work from home jobs from Seek and Trade Me and Facebook, and anytime somebody needed someone to do those odd one-off jobs, I'd put my hand up and off I went. Like
literally anything? Gardening needed this weekend.
Yeah.
Wow, excellent. That's pretty cool. So the sales job, was that basically a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, giving you weekends and evenings if you needed to?
Yeah, it was 7:30 to 4.
Okay.
So and there's no option to increase the hours.
Right, but that's pretty. I mean, finishing at 4 also gives you an evening and obviously the weekend. So many people who are various jobs are on call and stuff, work 6-day weeks or are on call in the weekends. That would be a more problematic situation to work weekends and stuff. But obviously for you, it was great.
Yes, and also living in Hamilton meant my travel time to and from work was 10 minutes maximum. Not in some cities where it takes you just an hour to get to work.
Yep. And cost of petrol, cost of parking, all that kind of thing as well. Did you go down the path of public transport and that as well to save money, or did you stick with your vehicle?
I walked to work.
All right. Well, that's even better. There's no better public transport than Shanks's pony, as my old mum used to say.
So I was driving a very expensive car when I first, that's another story in itself, but I was driving a very expensive car when I first had the debt. And then nearly 2 years ago, I sold it and bought a Suzuki Swift. So I sold a BMW twin turbo and bought a Suzuki Swift. So that was like another $9,000 off the debt as well.
Suzuki Swift's pretty cool cars. I like there's a little 1600 manual. I think it's the STI. I'd totally buy one of those. They're a great little car.
Mine's a 1.3, I think. So she doesn't take off in a hurry.
But still, it's one of these things, isn't it? When you start to look around, something does a job. I've been talking to a friend about in-ceiling ventilation systems recently. And, there's HRV and there's DVS and there's one that's based out of Auckland called Healthier. And I think Healthier is the best, I don't have any affiliation or association with them, but because I live in Dunedin now, I can't have it. And I say to my friends, because it's a conversation that's come up fairly commonly, that, who are looking at getting these in-ceiling ventilation systems, I'm like, they all basically do the same thing. They all take the hot air out of the ceiling and they push it down, giving positive pressure into so they all do the same thing. They just do it slightly differently. I feel like it's kind of the same with vehicles. They all kind of get you from point A to point B. You sit behind a wheel. Like I drove up into Central the other day and picked up some furniture. So it was nice to have a V6 SUV to pull a trailer. But other than the odd thing, most vehicles, if not all vehicles, kind of do the same thing. So spending a massive amount of money is just a luxury if you don't need to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, my Swift's done pretty well. I can fit 7 Lime scooters, I think is my top goal there.
Yeah.
That's how many I managed to fit. She definitely doesn't take off from any intersection in a hurry with 7 Lime scooters. I can tell you that.
Is that a part of the journey? Is that a part of the journey going, I mean, twin turbo BMW obviously is a dream car for a lot of people, but going from an attitude of I want, I'll have, to an attitude of what do I need and how can I fit that need?
Absolutely. So my entire mindset changed completely, but it had to. So I had to do it quite quickly. So I now work with people and help them change it slowly, because some people it's just too much to make such a big drastic change so suddenly. But I had to. Like my minimum repayments right at the beginning was something ridiculous, like $3,200 a month.
Wow. So $800 a week, give or take.
Yeah.
Which is your whole salary gone. The whole 50 grand is gone just in that.
Yep.
And you're not obviously still working as in that sales team, but is the work you're doing now helping other people, is that the side hustle or is that the main gig?
No. So my main gig, I'm a territory manager now.
What does that mean?
So I go from Taupo to Kaitaia, meeting with clients, and it's a lot less pressure than a hard sales role, which is what I was doing. And I'm now on the road, so I'm out and about all the time. And it's in an industry that directly supports our dairy industry.
Okay.
So I get to hang out with animals all day.
Nice.
It's pretty fun.
And you got to keep your dog. So
yeah. Who hates the farm? That's hilarious.
And so tell me about the day you paid off the last cent.
Oh, I cried. It was actually a year ago on Friday.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Thank you. Yay, 1 year. My auntie was here from Perth. It was my brother's wedding a couple of days later, and I drove up to my mum's house, had my laptop and everything, and transferred the money, and then cried for a little while. And then we popped a bottle of Moe and then realized we didn't actually like Moe. And then we just had like a nice dinner, and it was quite, it actually took me like a couple of weeks to get used to it. So once the next couple of paychecks came in, it was almost like, what do I do now? I've got this extra money. I don't know what to do with it.
So how long did you keep that that drive up after it was paid off? Because once it paid off, if you just stayed in that lifestyle, then you'd be banking 30 grand a year. Did you slow down because you could after that, or did you keep doing like that for 6 months to get some money behind you? What happened then?
I'm still doing it. So
Okay.
I still do 7 side hustles and a main job.
Wow.
But I'm saving for a house now. So I have 70 grand towards a house deposit.
Yep.
Including Kiwi
how do
from
you
a year ago.
how do you feel about mortgages? Because that's obviously a fairly large debt for a debt-free diva to have.
Oh, well, then we just do it again, pay it off, right?
Yeah, but that's what you'll do. You're not attempting to save up like enough to buy a house.
No, not with the way. Originally, I would have liked to.
Wow.
The way that house prices are going, at the moment, I think it's an unrealistic expectation to be able to come up with that much whilst paying somebody else's investment.
Yeah, look, even here in Dunedin, which is a much tamer market than Hamilton, which again, Hamilton is tamer than Auckland, but even in Dunedin, you look at the property values over the last 12 months and houses are going up. Small houses are going up a few $1,000s a month. Larger houses are going up $5,000 to $7,000 a month. And it's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because I had a mate of mine in Auckland who had a philosophy of not being in debt when he was younger. And he was like, oh, I'm just going to save up and we're going to buy a house and we're going to buy it outright, have no debt. And I remember he came to this realization, nothing to do with me. I'm not saying I influenced him at all, but he came to this realization that actually he could use the debt to make money. And then he got his head around it. And now he owns like $4 or $5 million worth of property. You know, he's got a very large mortgage to go along with it, but the houses that he's bought have appreciated in value. He's then used that to buy another house, which is appreciated in value. And so actually going into debt, using the debt, has enabled to build his wealth. So I wanted to get your take on that and get your take on, house, and even in Dunedin going up $5,000 a month, you'd have to be saving $5,000 a month just to keep up with the inflation price of the houses at the moment. And it makes more sense to me to get a mortgage and go into debt than it does to try and save up ahead of the growth rate of house prices at the moment.
Yeah, well, money's so cheap at the moment as well.
Yeah, true.
So interest rates, you can get them down to 1.99 at some banks.
Yep.
So, and there's not a lot of point leaving your money in the bank either, because you're not earning. Not sure if you've seen the most recent interest rates, but they're a bit laughable.
Yeah.
So I fully agree with your friend as well. Using debt to help build wealth is another option. So my plan is to get into a house, pay it off in as quick as I can, which will be about 4 or 5 years, and then rent that out and buy the next house and then pay that off. So creating passive income along the way.
Wouldn't it make more sense? So I've bought and sold houses for quite a while. I've had rentals. I've played that game. I'm not currently at the moment, although I am still a little bit. I have boarders that live with me that help pay the mortgage and stuff. So, but wouldn't it make more sense to pay off? Let's say you're in. I'm not sure what the house price is in Hamilton, but let's say it's a $700,000 house. I would assume that's a fairly average house in Hamilton, just basing on the Auckland prices and the Dunedin prices, somewhere in between, I would think. Yeah. So you've got your $100,000 deposit. You get in there, you get up to $300,000. Say you pay half of it off, so you got $350,000 owing on it. Then you use that to buy the next house. So don't pay the whole thing off. You pay half of it off, and then you buy the next house. There used to be a formula that I think it was 1 cash cow for every 3 negatively geared houses. So you'd buy a 7-bedroom house that you could get $500 a week more than what the mortgage was, and then you'd buy some that were negatively geared to lose it. But overall, over your whole property portfolio, you were still at least breaking even, or if not, just a little bit negatively geared to for the tax take at the end of the year. But so what I'm trying to ask is, are you set on that model that you want to pay a house off and then go on, or are you open to the idea that once you get the debt on one house to a point where another house could also work in the formula, you might be open to that, or is it really debt aversion?
No, it's just lack of knowledge at the moment. That's all I know. Once again, we go back to you can only base plans off what you know. So once I get into the house, then I'll start the research on
Right.
okay, where we're going to go now.
It's like when people, and I'm not saying winning lotto is a good plan for someone's financial thing, but if people win lotto and they have $500,000, or let's say they have $1 million, they're much more sensible to buy 3 houses worth $1 million each of them with a $350,000 deposit. It means they've got a big debt, but they've also got 3 appreciating assets to then, in 5 years sell one of them and pay the mortgage off on the other 2, and then they've got 2 freehold houses rather than buying just one when you win your lotto, or you get your inheritance or your lump sum of money or whatever it is. So that's still using debt to kind of make money. And look, I didn't think this would turn into me kind of saying to you what I think, because you're the expert here, not me. But I'm interested. I'm interested as to I'm interested to see whether this debt free thing is like I said before, like an aversion, like I just hate debt, I don't want to go near it, or whether it's the smart thing because you had bad debt to get out of, but you're open to using debt to further your financial situation as well.
Yeah, so I have strong aversions against consumer debt.
Yeah. So credit cards, high purchase, that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, car loans, all that kind of stuff. No, strong aversions to that. When you move into the housing market, I think mortgages are a different kettle of debt altogether.
Yeah.
Like different philosophy on it. Especially, as I say, with money being so cheap at the moment, and I mean, no one's traveling anywhere, so you can spend money in New Zealand as well on houses and rent and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You say you work with people. The people that you work with, I was an idiot when I was 18. I got my first credit card and I got $7,000 or $8,000 in debt buying ridiculous things because I was an idiot. The people you're working with, do you find that is it the consumer debt that they're having the problems with, or are you talking to people coming in because when the global financial crisis happened in 2007, 2008, people were getting into strife with their mortgages because of these supersized mortgages. People were actually being given mortgages by banks where they shouldn't have been. That was actually almost like a consumer debt. It was like, here, have this house. Doesn't matter if you can't afford to pay for it. So the people coming to you now, is there still issues around mortgages and stuff, or is it more the consumer debt, or is it all of the above?
It's more consumer debt and budget lifestyles, like changing your lifestyle to suit a budget, basically. I guess for me, because a lot of what I coach is based on personal experience.
Yeah.
So I haven't done the mortgage personal experience just yet. But the one thing I do advise people is, I know it's tough and I know it's really rubbish, but keep saving as much as you can for a deposit. Like I often see people comment on Facebook and whatnot saying that it's rubbish that the bank won't give them a mortgage, 95% mortgage. I'm like, well, actually, they're sort of looking out for your best interests at heart, because you don't want to get into a position where you can't afford to live, or you can't afford food, or you can't afford whatever, because your mortgage is so large, and then all of a sudden the interest rates have gone up.
Yeah. Do you accept that there are some people who don't have enough money coming in?
Yes.
To save?
Yeah.
Do you think that there is a real serious issue there, and that's a real problem, or do you lean on more on the side of, well, yes, there are some people who don't bring enough money to save, but they could go out and change their circumstances?
I think that there's people who have been given a bad hand, and are in a position. I think the fact that you've got a family on 2, say, middle income earners, so not your minimum wages, but not your 6 figures, and the fact that they still can't get a mortgage or get a house is ridiculous.
Why do you think that is? Why? Let's say there's 2 people earning, let's just say 70K, or let's say 75. So the household's bringing in 150K. Why can't they get a mortgage?
Sometimes they don't have a deposit,
Yeah.
in which case, because once again, like if you go to places like Hamilton's starting to get bad, but nowhere as near as bad as Auckland. But if rent is already taking up such a giant chunk, it does. Yeah, see, because in my head I've also got contradicting thoughts on that as well.
Well, tell us about them. I mean, that's what we do here. We kind of just talk shit and we get it all out there. And at the end, it's like, well, what that means is if we've got contradictory thoughts, it means we haven't quite come to the end of our process yet. And maybe no one's suggesting that's going to happen in this podcast.
Yeah. Well, so for me, I like in Auckland, yes, house prices are very expensive. Yes, rents are very expensive. Is there some way that you could maybe move out to one of the lower areas, like for a little bit, or can your kids share a room and you get a boarder in for a little bit to help save? Or there is ways outside the box. Like the thing is with extreme saving or extreme debt payoff, like what I did, is you've got to live this life that you don't think is gonna happen.
Hang on, let's say that. Let's explain that again. You have to live a life that you don't think can happen. What do you mean?
So, most people have this idealistic that they'll live in a 4-bedroom house with
a dog, 2.4 kids, white picket fence, yada yada yada, big screen TV, two nice cars in the driveway, yada yada. Yep, got it.
Got an iPhone sort of scenario, but like with I mean, house prices are a great example. With the rate of them increasing, like, can you move into a smaller house and your kids can share a bedroom? But most people don't want to make those sacrifices for extreme saving. Now, I'm not talking about the people that live in poverty or below the poverty line or have been dealt like a really crap hand.
Yeah.
I'm talking about those middle ones that are like, oh, this is so unfair. And I'm like, okay, well, can we do without everyone having an iPhone? Can we move maybe into a different area and catch a bus into work? Yeah, and I mean, I saw it the entire way through my journey. I'll be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to walk to work. Oh, why don't you walk? Like, blah, 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 take your car. It's not even that far, etc., etc. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but I'm going to walk to work. Or my favorite, aren't you going to have a rest? Like, why are you working so many jobs? It's like, because I have something, like, I've got a goal to achieve.
Yeah.
And I do rest. Like, I just want to throw that out there. Please, people, don't work yourself into the ground. But I sort of like schedule them in, so I know when, like, so that I don't burn out.
So what, you make sure you've got like a weekend a month or whatever you schedule to do nothing? Is that sort of what you're saying?
Yes.
Now what? Yeah. Now be honest. What is it? A weekend or what? Or is it a day a month? Or is it? What is your schedule? This relaxation time that you're telling everyone not to worry about. What is your relaxation time? How often is it?
Oh, it's every Saturday morning. So you'll never find me out of my pajamas before midday on a Saturday. I just vegetate and just do whatever I feel like doing. Nothing scheduled. Just sleep in, lounge around. I flat with 2 boys, and they are both working on a Saturday. So I just eat some crap food and watch some Grey's Anatomy and lounge around and do nothing until about midday.
So Saturday morning is, so you have half a day off a week and you plan for that to be Saturday morning. It would suck if you slept in one Saturday morning. You wake up and your alarm didn't go off and it's like 11:30, and then it's like, crap, there's my day off gone.
Well, the great thing about most of the side hustles that I do is that I get to choose when I do them. So if I feel myself burning out, I'll be like, okay, I just need to take some time now and just take a step back and go and read a book or something.
What do you do to relax? I mean, other than, like, because I suspect that, I mean, you'd still must see your friends and stuff from time to time, which wouldn't all fit into 10 a.m. Saturday morning, please. What else do you do to relax? Like, if you are feeling that kind of, I'm working a bit too much coming on, and I would think leading up to Christmas, most people feel that stress anyway. So if you're already having lots and lots and lots of time filled up with work, I don't know, does it become more stressful leading up to Christmas? But if you are going to have some downtime, what is it?
I read a book. I read and fiction. So I also read nonfiction when I'm learning new stuff, normally for my business. But I always make sure, like, every night before bed, I do 30 minutes of nonfiction reading.
Okay.
Sorry, a fiction reading. Just to unwind, get my mind in somebody else's life for 30 minutes. I do hang out with my friends, see my family. So I'll schedule in dinners, like, oh, let's catch up for dinner on a Sunday, or lunches, go out for lunches. Always on a grab one deal though, because we can't be spending too much money here. But most of my friends and stuff are really understanding of my frugal lifestyle as well. So, and it's contagious. And every Sunday I'll walk my dog. So I make sure that she goes to the ballpark every Sunday.
Right. So you've got little breaks here and there through your week that you schedule in. Yeah. Do you ever have concern that sort of you're missing a part of life? So, and I'm not suggesting this is you, but you know, there's that old adage that the old man on his deathbed never says, "Oh, I wish I'd spent another hour at work." They typically say, "I wish I'd spent another hour with my kid," or "I wish I'd spent another hour in the garden," or "I wish I'd spent another hour at at the football stadium," whatever. Is there ever a concern for you that sort of the work and the money and that is good, and it's good to be focused on your savings and your goals, but life in general is just passing you by?
No. I'm creating a life that I want to live. So it's not actually just about the money. Like Debt Free Diva, the whole concept of the business is to help others. So I just really want to help others not be in the same position or get themselves out or just not feel completely helpless. So definitely I'm creating a life I want to live. So I enjoy my job. I really enjoy my job now. And I get to do everything I want to do. I mean, I still traveled during my debt-free journey as well. Obviously I can't travel right now. It's very annoying.
It must be quite nice though, if your job is giving you that kind of kaitaia down to Taupo sort of travel, that you've got, you know, time to see a good portion of the North Island, and I imagine that's not all. Even though you're kind of based in the middle in Hamilton, that you spend, if you go to Kaitaia, you're obviously staying there for the night. You're not driving back again. It gives you a little bit of sort of outside the office time and a little bit of travel around the country.
Yes, yeah. I think that's why I was so desperate for a change. It's because I felt quite chained behind a desk and I was getting itchy. Like I'd done everything I could do at my last job. I'd hit the top. I'd maximized, I was billing so much. I couldn't go anywhere else. I couldn't strive for anything else.
Right. So you'd reach the end of that journey. You'd achieve what you needed to achieve. So is your income now similar to what it was, excuse me, when you were really driving that debt down, even though you've changed jobs?
No. So my base salary is higher, but it's harder to earn commission. So I have taken quite a big pay cut at the moment. But I mean, I'll build that back up.
Well, I guess that also addresses the question I had about life passing you by. I mean, I guess if someone was wholly and solely focused on the financial side of things, they wouldn't have left the job that was more lucrative to a job that sounds like it's a little bit more lifestyle-y than the previous job, even though maybe it's still a sort of 9-to-5er.
Yeah, and it was for a smaller company as well. So it's not large corporate. It's I have a very helpful. I'm helpful by nature, so I like helping people. So working for a smaller company means I know the directors and I know who I'm working for, and you can help achieve their goals. Mm-hmm. You're part of the journey. You're not just this cog in the wheel in the back.
And how do they feel about you doing this side hustle? Because this side hustle has, got your names into papers and on television networks and on crappy little podcasts and that kind of stuff. How do they feel about you doing this other thing? That's got, like, I spoke to someone today about the podcast I was doing, and they were like, "Oh, I've heard her story. I've heard her story." So it's there is an element of notoriety that comes with this. How does your main job, your main income provider feel about you doing this?
They're very supportive, very supportive. As long as I do my job still, which I am. The directors and my immediate boss have all contacted me specifically after I was on TV to let me know that they were behind me 100%.
Nice.
So, it was funny. I was at a networking event for work last night, and we're sitting at a table, and then I had to talk, And the lady next to me turned to me and goes, "Were you on TV a few weeks ago?" Like, yes, that was me. So yeah, sometimes the paths do cross. Like some of my customers obviously saw me on TV or in the paper, but I don't see there's no issue with it.
Yeah, and I guess a smart business would go like, as you say, as long as it doesn't take away from the role this person has here. As long, any notoriety someone gets outside of the workplace is only beneficial to that workplace. So it's good to hear that they're supportive of it. That would be the smart thing to do, I think. When you say you like helping people, you're Debt Free Diva, and let's show people the people who are watching us. Let's show people the website, debtfreediva.co.nz. Although I'm a bit dyslexic, and I sometimes read that as debtfreediva.co.nz, but that's just me. Debtfreediva.co.nz. It sounds. I don't want to be uncouth, but I'm like, do you make money off that? Is that a paid thing, or is that more of the help thing?
No, that's a paid thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So you're working as a financial advisor on some level. Is your financial advisory, your help in that area, have any kind of connection to any kind of official qualification, or is it more based on your personal experience?
So it's financial coaching. Got to be very careful.
Right.
Not advising.
Right.
And I don't want to be a financial advisor. So I don't want to sit that course. People ask me all the time because as soon as you sit that course, you're stuck with these guidelines. But I don't talk about investing or any of that kind of stuff. What I do is the mental, processing of paying off debt and helping people curate budgets that still incorporate fun, still suit their lifestyles, but help them achieve goals.
Nice. And do you call them clients? The people you see, people you help, your clients. Have you, got a tote up? Have you seen good success in them? Have you got any examples you can tell us? Any stories you can tell us about the people you work with?
One of my clients, I saw her last night. She for something else, and she let me know that she just bought a house in Rotorua.
Wow.
So she was in debt. She got in touch with me at the start of COVID. Bit of a SOS, and we set a plan in place, and she achieved it 18 months earlier than we thought. So it was great.
So as a lot of this, let's go back to your website here. As a lot of this, and I know you've got some things people can do through the shop. We haven't talked about this yet, so I guess I'm asking you whilst I'm looking at it. Is a lot of this sort of, or you've got debt trackers. So I was going to use the word tracking. Is a lot of this sort of tracking your goals, setting a goal and aiming for it? And if people want to know more about it, on debtfreediva.co.nz, there is a shop that you can go and have a look up, a bunch of trackers you've got there. But is that a part of it? Is it part of it the sort of organizing, setting a target and trying to achieve it?
Yes. Yeah. So you'll see behind me, I've got my trackers.
Yeah.
And I've set all my goals for the beginning of the year, and then I color in each line as I start achieving that goal.
It's sort of the equivalent of outside the church looking for the fundraising for the roof, the thermometer thing going up. That's sort of what you're doing. Or the primary school, if the church is the wrong analogy. Yeah.
Very simple.
So that's actually keeping people on task and on track. And I know there's something about finances or whatever it is, having a tangible visual response to it feels amazing. Now, whether it's you've like for me, creating digital content and you see likes going up, it's a visual sort of thing, or that I imagine that would be something that would keep a lot of people focused. I know for me, when I have a certain amount of money in my bank account, I don't like to go below, because I just like to have it sitting on that mark. For some reason, going under it feels like I don't have enough sitting in my savings. It's an arbitrary figure, but it's a tangible figure that I can see that if I go under it, I feel like, oh gosh, it's a bit tight. Whereas it's not massively tight, but yeah, that visual cue I think is always an important thing.
Yes, yeah. So that's a lot of what got me through. So that board that you see, that's what I look at every day. Every morning, that's what I get up and look at. I'm like, cool, right, how am I tracking today?
Wow.
What am I doing today to help me?
It sounds kind of like someone who's on a like on a weight loss journey or something. And but it's the other way. They're trying to lose something, whereas you're trying to gain something. But they track it and they get on the scales every morning. And they go, "Oh, I'm 300 grams lighter," or whatever it is. And it's a way they can actually keep themselves in check and keep up to date with what they're doing, sort of thing. I guess it doesn't matter what it is. I've used that example. It's a tangible way to keep track of yourself visually.
Yes. And because the other thing that I'm on a mission to do, which is why I'm out in the media and everything, is just open the conversation about finances. Because it's still this really closed caption, like taboo subject that people don't want to, people really struggle to say that they're struggling.
Yeah.
Or that they're paying off debt, or they can't afford something, or they don't want to do something because it's out of their price range. And I just want to be able to open that conversation.
How has COVID changed this conversation, if at all?
Massively. So I often, because I'm very active on Instagram, on my Instagram, it's like a personal blog, and I get people message me all the time with their little money stories, money wins, all those kind of things. And I definitely think COVID, because it's become normal to talk about your finances, I think that's helped massively drive the conversation along.
Right. So COVID has helped because people are now more open about their finances.
I think so. I mean, it's no secret that people have lost jobs. So, it's people are not afraid to say, unfortunately, I lost my job because of COVID. We can't afford that. We were on reduced incomes because of COVID, etc.
Yeah, that's true, actually. I mean, you think about, and I don't think this should ever be the case, that sometimes people are a bit embarrassed when they've lost a job or lost work, but through COVID, if someone's lost work, then what they get is sympathy, rightfully so, and because we're all in this thing together. So, yeah, interesting. So through this time of trial for the whole world, it's given people the opportunity to share their negative experiences in maybe a less judgmental way, be more open, it'd be easier to be open about it.
Yeah, I always joke that how they say keeping up with the Joneses?
Yep.
Yeah, the new Joneses are broke, so everyone wants to keep up with the frugal Joneses.
Right. Yeah, shucks. That's true, actually. Have you seen an uptick in clientele since COVID, or is this fairly new, the kind of getting clients on board to talk about money?
It's very new.
Okay.
So obviously I was only Debt Free a year ago. I launched Debt Free Diva in February and COVID hit us in March.
How many clients would you have? Ish.
6.
Oh, 6. Well, there you go. You don't even need to go to the ish. You can just tell us. I'm looking at your Instagram right now. People who are listening to us will have to jump on the feed and have a look at this. But I like, and I'm looking at this right now. We're looking at a page together, which was your budget shopping from last week. And I'm seeing raisins and carrots and chicken and bananas. And it looks like there might be a caramel milk in there or something, a bit of a treat, some chocolate. A pretty good feed. Not many veggies. I guess the veggies are still to come. Or are they in your garden? Is that what the Debt Free Diva is supposed to be? But $41.51 on groceries this week. That's pretty good. And there are some treats in there as well, which is nice to see.
Yes. I think I got, that's my grocery shop. I was off to Queenstown, so I was using veggies out of the freezer.
Ah, very good. Very good. And and also amongst it, let's just jump back here. This is for people who are still watching it. This is the same one. You've actually then planning. I think for me, that's the place that I struggle sometimes financially, because I'm not a very good planner with dinners and with meals. So I kind of go, what are we doing tonight? Oh, I don't know. What are we doing? Oh, I don't know. What? Oh, we'll just do this. We'll go and get Japanese or something. So I think, yeah, we'll figure it out. And I mean, most of the time it's fine because I've got stuff in the freezer, but that planning thing, I mean, again, we were talking about you planning and having the visual representation of the goals, but also just planning your day. What am I having for lunch today? What am I having for dinner today? I mean, if you're going out to work and you don't plan a lunch, then inevitably you're buying lunch. So that's probably a big part of it as well, is it?
If work's not paying for my lunch, I always try and make sure I take a packed lunch. Yeah.
That's very cool. What would you find the most common question asked of you is around your finances And what would be the most common question asked for people struggling themselves?
I get asked a lot what I do for a job, I guess, around my own finances. So I am in sales. Do have to be a bit careful. But yeah, around my own finances, I guess I'm very open on the Instagram about it. Like if you look back, I even have posts of, how much my net worth has increased that month and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really leave room for questions.
Yeah, that's true.
Here it is.
So do you mean kind of like this one here that is just from November 16, side hustle earnings this week 46, the side hustle earnings were $182, 65 cents means, and is this like a bank account somewhere that you've got? Because you said your total is 9,250, or is that just the running total?
Running total for this year of side hustle. But if you scroll down, you'll see there's a post that says October numbers are in.
Hang on, I'll bring it back so you can see it as well, so you can direct me. October numbers are in. Side hustle. Oh, there we go. There we go. This one here. October numbers are in. Swipe to have a look. Balance increases. Side hustles grand. House savings $7,300. Holiday fund $330. Net worth $5,803.17. And there's all your targets and your goals up close for people who can't see them behind you quite so clearly. Yeah, so I remember my mate John Bridges, who works in media at the moment, built a house in Auckland, and I can't remember who he wrote for. It might have been Stuff, but he wrote for stuff.co.nz or one of the other online newspapers about the process of building a house. And he said to me right at the start, the thing he had to do was be brutally honest. So whilst many of us Kiwis kind of don't want to talk about money or are a bit embarrassed by it or whatever, he was blunt as blunt can be when it comes to how much this tap cost. And so it gave a really clear indication of financially what it cost to build a house, more specifically what it cost to build his house. So I think it's good not to leave grey area like that.
Yeah, I'm totally open. I've put all like separate posts on all my different sinking funds and expenses and stuff. So yeah, I'm very open with it.
We didn't quite get to that. What's the most common question someone like asked you about their own finances? So if someone turns up and they need help, what do you hear most commonly? Or is there not a common question? Maybe that's the answer.
No. Everybody is so unique. Personal finances are personal. That's why I like doing the one-on-one coaching, because you can follow somebody's Instagram or my Instagram, but my situation is different to yours. So what works for me might not work for you. So we just have to find the thing that works for the people in their situation.
And if you were talking to like a large group, like we might be right now, or certainly once people listen back to this podcast on demand, what's some of the things that you would say to the general population about, that consumer debt, their finances? Like, what are some generic type things that you like to leave people with?
Please just have a think about if you really need to put it on consumer debt. Do you really need that item? Have a sleep on it. Have a think about it. And if you do, hunt around for a good interest rate and the best deal. Don't just take the first thing that's given to you.
And what about read those contracts? Because sometimes those contracts that people make you sign with an HP, a lay-by, lay-by is not quite so bad because it's real money, but HP or a credit card, they can be some pretty brutal balloon payments and all sorts of tricky things there in the fine print.
Or personal loans and car loans. So if you paid off early, you get stung with all sorts of admin fees, etc. So it's always good to read up on those as well and ask the question. Don't be afraid to ask the question. The banks, believe it or not, banks are actually there to help you. So ask, say, this is what I'm planning on doing. Can you give me a product that suits that need?
Let me offer something as well from my experience. I just the ask the question thing, I would also say the same of retailers. And so I'll give you two examples from me. So I probably shouldn't mention the name of the the place just because they'll get inundated with people being cheeky bastards like I was. But I went into a fairly, it's a reputable appliance type shop that is in every part of New Zealand. Who knows, they've probably got 50 outlets across the whole country. And they had a big discount on, and the discount was 50% off, the item. They said, here's the registered retail price, 50% off is this much. And so straight away I jumped on my phone. I had a look. I could see that other places were selling it for less than their registered retail price. And so I just said to the manager, I said, look, this is not the RRP for most places. And I showed him. And I said, can you do any better on the discount? And he knocked another 7% off or something. He made it 57% off. And so even though that was an advertised special, oh no, it was 5%. It was an advertised special nationwide. It was an advertised special on their website. Talking to the person, he still knocked another 5% off. And I think that's often, if you ask, they will come. I've got a supplier of electronic and for my studio computer goods down here in Dunedin, and I've been here long enough, and I've built up enough of a reputation with him that he just gives me stuff now, and I just pay it off over, the weeks and months to come. So it's basically a lay-by, but he gives it to me first. And that's because the original thing is I built a relationship with him and then I asked. And I think most places, if you don't ask, you'll never know. And there's nothing wrong with being a bit cheeky, because in the end, the retailer wants to sell it to you, like actually in the end, the bank wants to help you. And also, here's a final one for you business people out there. Don't be scared of the IRD, because in general, the IRD are also very helpful and they want to help you and do it. So the asking of the questions and the stating what you want to do. I was in Noel Leeming's in the weekend, and they had a microphone that I looked at. I didn't really need it, but I knew it could be useful to have in my kit, and it was already reduced from like $250 to $200. And I just said to them, well, actually, there's lots of places selling this for $200 now. Reduce it more. And they made it $159. I still wasn't going to pay that for it. So I didn't buy. But what I'm saying is, asking the question got another $40 off.
Yeah.
So ask questions, ask, and be cheeky. That's what I'd say.
Absolutely.
Because saving a dollar on lots of times is almost the same as, saving a dollar on purchasing something is almost the same as saving a dollar into the bank, because that money doesn't have to leave your account to pay for the thing.
Yes.
So that's
I totally agree.
That's my little rant. Be cheeky, ask questions. They want to sell it to you.
I always ask questions. My friends get embarrassed going into shops with me.
Hey, the next few months, obviously you've got the Debt Free Diva a service, financial freedom on your terms, started up. What's happening with you between sort of the next 6 months? You trying to grow this? Is that the main plan? What's happening with you?
Yep. So big plans actually for Debt Free Diva. So I've got a book in the works. So hopefully that'll be done and dusted in 6 months. I've got another book that I want to write as well. I've got a short course that's currently going through editorial phase. So I've written it. It's now going through the editorial that people can buy to create their own, people that can't afford the one-on-one coaching but still want to create their own financial plan. So roadmap to debt freedom. So basically I definitely want to grow it. I just want to help people. I just want people to realize they're not stuck. They're not alone. I want to open the conversation.
Cool. Hey, it's been lovely.
And I want to buy a house.
And you want to buy a house. And how much do you think you need as a deposit to buy a house? What are you aiming for?
So I currently have 70. And all going well, I should be able to get 500 from the bank. So I should be able to buy a house in the next 6 months.
Cool. So you'd be looking at like 600-ish around Hamilton. Would that get you something?
570 is what I'm looking.
Right.
It'll get me something, but yeah, not the flashes, but that's okay. Everyone's got to start somewhere.
Absolutely. And there's lovely places in and around Hamilton. A nice little place, nice little 2-bedroom place or 3-bedroom place sort of thing. Get some I was going to say to you as well, talking about getting boarders in. I'm pretty sure that most banks don't take boarders into, and they won't class it as income because obviously out of the boarding. But the good thing is the IRD don't class it as debt income either, because out of the boarders comes some of their food. So there's this double-edged sword with borders that you don't pay tax on them legally because they're borders. That's how it's set up. But you also can't use them as income with the bank. So you either have to have tenants to use as income on the bank, but then obviously you need to pay tax on that because it's a direct income. So something for newbies out there to be aware of how that runs.
And if you, just fun fact that I actually learned last week, if you use tenants and you have less than 20% deposit, you can only use one tenant up to $150 a week income only.
Well, that's interesting because most banks that I've spoken to typically do 70%. So whatever the income the tenant is paying, they'll do 70% of it, and that 30% is for their when it's not occupied. They expect it to be not occupied for 30%. But I guess each bank probably has their own little tweak on how they do that, I guess.
Yeah, but they cap it at $150 a week.
Also, so the exciting thing I reckon for you, there's lots of exciting things, but you're actually done all the stuff with consumer finance and consumer debt, and now you're going into a whole new realm of mortgages and learning about that side of things with being debt free. So it's like you got a book coming out, but then there might be another whole new book on the way, which is, the consumer debt book, and then there's the mortgage debt book, and then who knows what'll come after that.
Yeah, well, the first book that's coming, that I'm in the middle of writing at the moment, is on side hustling. So
Nice.
It's all the secret side hustling, breaking down things like the tax and how to fit it in, and just my knowledge. Obviously, I've got 4 years of knowledge on how to fit in all these side hustles and where to find them and all that kind of stuff. And I think people get scared of them a little bit.
Scared of the side hustle?
Yeah, like they want to do something, but they don't know how.
I think one of the things I often hear from people about side hustles is the tax side of things as well. And that's why you find, I think there's plenty of people who use places like Trade Me or do side hustles or do gardening or whatever, and they do cash jobs because the tax is scary to them. But it's not actually that scary. If you work it out once, it's pretty much, it's not a difficult thing to follow through, I don't reckon. You just need to be educated in it.
Just bring them.
Yeah.
Oh, you can get through. But yeah, it's not, I think people get so confused because the other misconception is that there's secondary tax, because that was eroded a little while ago. So you're not actually, whether you're earning $300,000 in your main job or $300,000 in 7 jobs, you're paying the same tax.
Yeah. Yep, which is the smart way to do it, because how it used to be with secondary tax, I think it was because as a student I had 3 or 4 jobs, as a lot of students do have, and they'd try and charge a secondary tax on the second job you had. But even though my total earnings might have only been 30 grand a year, so you'd pay secondary tax, and then at the end of the year they'd give it all back to you because you hadn't reached the secondary tax level. So that's much smarter doing it that way now. Hey Tracy, It's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. As someone who's debt free and doesn't want consumer debt, what's Santa going to bring you this year?
A house? No.
Yeah? Well, there you go. Could it be as quick as that? Could you be looking in the next kind of 4 to 6 weeks?
Well, if I got to pass my 90-day trial, so the directors of my company are quite happy with my performance so far. So if I get my letter to say I've passed by Friday, then it's going to the bank and I should be pre-approved by Christmas.
Cool, man. So there you go. So you want Santa not to come down your chimney and bring you something. You want Santa to bring you a chimney, actually.
Yeah.
And a house attached to it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Can we just get on to that? That'd be good.
I'm sure, no problems. The website is debtfreediva.co.nz. Tracy Hemingway is the Debt Free Diva. Hey, Tracy, it's been a pleasure. It's been lovely chatting to you, and thanks so much for giving us some time today here in the Department of Conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.